All right, here we are with chapter 2 in our life science textbook, and we're trying something new. Um, you should by now have taken out your notebook and have a clean sheet of paper in front of you. At the top, there's your heading, chapter 2, what is a living organism, and today's date. Go ahead and get that written down. Now, as I told you in class, the nice thing about doing our notes this way is you can go at your own pace. So you don't have to worry about falling behind because you can just stop the video, pause it, finish writing down notes, and then start it up again. All right, so just a little preliminary information about looking at living things. Think about what's living and what's non-living. How do you know the difference? That's what we're going to look at first in characteristics of living organisms. The objectives that we want to cover are, number one, list the defining characteristics of living things. As you can see, we've got 5 of them. All living organisms need energy to carry out life processes. Is it always the same? Think about what you need to survive. Food would be your form of energy. Is that something that perhaps a plant would take in energy the same way, or bacteria? Whatever living thing is, it's going to need energy, and we get those in different ways. The second one, all living organisms are composed of one or more cells. Does that sound familiar? Back in chapter 1, we talked about the cell theory, and this was one of the parts of the cell theory, that in order to be alive in this case, that organism, that thing, has to be made of one or more cells. A third characteristic of a living organism, they respond to their environment. In other words, if you think about when it's bright out and you shade your eyes, or if you touch something hot, or you get cold, all of these different stimuli cause you as a living thing to respond. And that's the same way internally. It's not just externally, but inside also. The fourth one, all living organisms grow and reproduce. So without being able to get larger, without being able to create and reproduce more organisms, you would find the end of the line as far as that organism's family history would go. And then the last characteristic all living organisms have is that they're able to maintain a stable internal environment. And the term that we use to describe a stable internal environment is homeostasis. So it doesn't matter. We're going to look at a lot of different things. Well, just like we did back at the beginning of the school year, we'll continue to look at different things and try and determine, are they living or are they non-living? And sometimes we have to even ask the question, were they once living? So there's your list of characteristics of living things. Now, another objective as you read chapter 2, lesson 1, would be that all living things need certain things. For example, all living things need resources and energy. We talked about the fact that they need energy. Well, that source of energy or food is not the same, as we mentioned earlier. Animals eat plants or other animals. Plants use energy directly from the sun, and we'll study the process of photosynthesis this year. That's the process that plants use. It's called photosynthesis. Mushrooms and other fungi get energy from other organisms, and we'll talk about those and other organisms within our energy pyramid as we talk about how different organisms ultimately use the sun to get their energy, but then it's transferred from organism to organism in a number of different ways. So there, in capital letters, remember this, nearly all the energy of living things initially comes from the sun. All right, so we have characteristics, number 1, of living things that we listed. And number 2, another objective for this lesson is defining their needs or listing their needs. Here are the vocabulary that you'll encounter as you read lesson 1 in chapter 2. Make sure you've got these written in your notebook, the vocab term plus its definition. And I believe a nice short introduction into using this type of learning program. I'm going to go ahead, and once you have all of this copied into your notebook, I want you to go ahead now and open your text to chapter 2, What is a Living Organism? And find lesson 1 called The Characteristics of Living Organisms. Go ahead and read through this, and we're going to discuss this tomorrow. I'm back just because I want to show you what chapter 2 looks like. I'm sorry, I forgot to do this. This is found in your iBooks. This is chapter 2, so this is what you want to look for on the shelf. It's got some great creatures on the cover, table of contents, and you want to get to a little introduction. Read that, and then there it is, lesson 1. The objectives are listed just like we put them in our notebook, and then your vocab. So go ahead and read through this, and like I said, we're going to talk about this tomorrow.